Allisha Gray is fresh off of winning or being named Eastern Conference Player of the Week for her performance last week. The Atlanta Dream have been off to a dreamy start, to say the least. Going back to something that Martin said at the beginning of the season, we did our preview. He expected them to finally be competitive this season, and they have been just that so far through the first couple of games of the season here. Martin, given how not just how good Allisha Gray has been, but how good the Dream have been overall. I mean, Rhyne Howard just dropped 33 the other night, if I remember correctly. What do you expect Atlanta's ceiling to be this season? How far do you think they can go?
Yeah, Allisha Gray, first time in her career, she's won Conference Player of the Week. She's put up crazy numbers. I think that they're showing they can be a playoff team, and I know we're going to talk about the duo of Allisha Gray and Rhyne Howard, and you have a really interesting take to make in regards to that. But I think again, they can be a playoff team for sure, but I think the biggest story here is the fact that Allisha Gray is a lot of us are really high on Rhyne Howard, including me. And I've said on this show multiple times that I'm waiting for the former #1 overall pick in 2020 to really show what she can do from a talent perspective. There have been flashes. We all see it. Her shooting, her offense, her size, her length. She's a really unique talent. And I've been really waiting for her to break out. That clip that we just played of me saying how good Allisha Gray is, that was on the heels of us doing one of our top 10 player rankings in the WNBA. Rhyne Howard has not been on my top 10 yet, but I've wanted her to be. I want her to earn that. Like, she hasn't been a top 10 player. I want her to be undeniably a top 10 player because she has that talent. Why I brought up Allisha Gray in that conversation too is because, like I said, she's really good. And I was saying that I would love to see her get more potential consideration as a top 10 player because she keeps showing us how good she is. And look at what she's doing this season. I think we've gotten to the point now where Allisha Gray might have been the one that we should be talking about more and putting a little more stock in. Not that Rhyne Howard isn't still the unique talent and still has that potential, but Allisha Gray, having been in the league, this is her 9th season. She's been in the league longer. She has more experience, but she keeps showing us more of what she's able to do. And from an offensive standpoint, she's their best guard. And it's gotten to a point where her elevating has now elevated Atlanta in a way that I thought Rhyne needed to elevate in order to elevate Atlanta. So it's an interesting conversation and thing now because, listen, even in the MVP conversation, I said Kelsey Plum. I made a take in our preview that Kelsey Plum would be an MVP candidate. I might have had the wrong lefty guard. Allisha Gray might need some consideration for MVP. The way that she's playing this year, averaging over 20 a game, not only taking one more shot so far through. I think they played 7 or 8 games, only taking one more shot per game than she took last year. And she's averaging 6 more points, shooting over 40% from 3. Like, I mean, man, she is like that. And that's, I mentioned in the clip, look no further what she put on display. It's not often that you see someone do something during All-Star weekend that has an effect on how you view them in the grand scheme of things in the regular season and so forth. But for Allisha Gray to win, was she All-Star MVP? Wasn't she MVP of the All-Star game? I know she won 3-point and the skills challenge.
She won the skills challenge.
Pretty sure wasn't she MVP of the All-Star game too? Like, that's really rare. And that was a clear signal that, hey, maybe we should be looking at Allisha Gray more as like in her skill set and her talent. And like, it's all coming out right now. And I think that head coach and the way that they're playing is benefiting her even more than I thought it might benefit Rhyne Howard.
For sure. And I mean, listen, I told you this on the phone, last week before I left, and I told you that I was going to want to talk about this because you're right. Allisha Gray has been off to a fiery start, and Rhyne Howard has had a strong start to the season as well. I'm right there with you. I think I did put her at the very first top 10 we ever did on the show. She wasn't my top 10 simply because I thought she had the talent to be there. She hasn't played like it, which is why she hasn't been on one since. But I told Martin before I left last week that with the way that the Dream have been playing, I feel like Allisha Gray and Rhyne Howard are the WNBA's Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown in a bunch of different ways. I think the main one comes back to something that Martin just said, right? it feels like we should be paying a little bit more attention to Allisha Gray, and maybe she's the best player on this team instead of Rhyne Howard. And that's a conversation that people have been having between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum for a very long time. I mean, you can me personally, I would date it back to as soon as Kyrie left Boston. That's kind of when that conversation kind of started of, okay, we kind of are assuming that Jayson Tatum's the best player because, he was the one that was going head up with LeBron James in the conference finals that year. And he's the one that's, getting all the love. But Jaylen Brown is really, really good. And we see, obviously, last season when they won the championship, Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP. That obviously fuels that conversation. But as I was sitting here and I was really starting to flesh this out and really start to think about, what are the comparisons between Allisha Gray and Rhyne Howard, and of course, Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, it almost just with looking at this dream roster, you can almost kind of make a comparison to this entire new look dream roster to who the Boston Celtics at least were last season. We might not see them like this again, but you think about, okay, Allisha Gray is the Jaylen Brown, I think, a very talented guard who can also play on the wing, who can score and defend, and doesn't really get a lot of credit maybe that a lot of people feel that she deserves, right? Then you go to Rhyne Howard. Rhyne Howard's not a forward the way that Jayson Tatum is. She is a big guard, though. But again, she is a player who, much like Jayson Tatum, is known for her scoring, can be inefficient at times. But the big thing with Rhyne Howard is even if the shot's not falling, much like Jayson Tatum, she's able to do other things, crash the boards, facilitate, and again, play good defense, something that a lot of people, when you look at what Jayson Tatum was doing in the finals last season, when people say, oh, Jayson Tatum laid an egg in the finals, well, we said that not because he didn't play well, because he wasn't shooting the ball well, wasn't scoring as efficiently as we're used to, or as at such a high clip as we're used to seeing, and so we just assumed Jayson Tatum wasn't playing well. Rhyne Howard's had a couple games this season where she's, dished out 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 assists simply because the shot wasn't falling. Her ability to do the other things that, can help this team win is very underrated, much like Jayson Tatum. I think even back to the clip, I forgot after which game it was, but someone had asked her what it was, was like to have the defensive performance that she had. And she said, I do this. Like,
I do this
I've been like that. Like, this isn't anything new.
Yeah,
like this defense thing. So again, she's not known for her defense, much like Jayson Tatum, but they can play defense. But then you take a look at the supporting cast around them. You take a look at a player in Brittany Griner who before this season wasn't shooting that many threes. Now all of a sudden with the new head coach, they want her to shoot, I believe, 3 or 4 threes a game. She's starting to expand her range a bit. I think she can be the Kristaps Porzingis of this team, right? A big who is dominant down low, a little bit more dominant down low, obviously, than Kristaps Porzingis. Not nearly the shooter that KP is, obviously, but she's starting to add that a bit to her game. And in this new system, it can work for her. I look at Bree Jones and I see Al Horford.
Yeah.
No one thinks that Al Horford is like the most demonstrative player in the game, but what he does matters for the Celtics. And in that same way, what Bree Jones does matters for this Atlanta Dream team. Her game is very quiet, if you will. It's very soft, but it's also straightforward. She's a double threat every time she's on the floor. She crashes the boards hard. She can shoot in the mid-range. She's effective down low. And then you get to Jordan Canada, who we haven't seen play much this season because she's been dealing with a bit of injury. And I think Jordan Canada is the Derek White of this team. She is, I think, and I told you this before, when she gets back healthy, I think that's really when the Atlanta Dream are going to start to really hit their stride and really start to kick it up a notch, because I don't expect Allisha Gray to slow down once Jordan Canada gets back. And I actually think her presence will be even more beneficial for Rhyne Howard to continue to develop into what we hope is a top 10 player. Not nearly the caliber of defender as Derek White, I would say, but still not nothing to sneeze at defensively as well. I am not in any means with this comparison saying that the Atlanta Dream are going to win the championship this season. And I'm not even saying they're going to make it to the finals this season. What I am saying, though, is that when you look at the construction of the Atlanta Dream roster and you look at their players and what they all do well, and you compare it to the Boston Celtics, there are a lot of strong comparisons to make between the two. And I think with the new head coach and this system that's clearly working for them, not only can they be competitive finally, as Martin alluded to at the top of the season, but maybe, just maybe, we could see them, if all things go right and the matchups are, in their favor, maybe they do make a deep run in the playoffs. And then maybe we're looking at them as a as a championship contending basketball team next season. But this started with me just saying that Allisha and Rhyne are the WNBA's Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And just in kind of expanding that, I really realized that this entire starting five for the Atlanta Dream can make strong comparisons to what the Boston Celtics have right now.
I think that's good. And like, their head coach is a 3-point guy. They're shooting more threes, and we knew that coming in. And so that does check out with how Boston started to play, especially, over these last couple of years. I think Jordan Canada would more so qualify as like the Drew Holiday
Sure.
I think they could use a Derek White. I was waiting to see where you'd go with that, but I don't think they have that fourth player like a Derek White that can go for 30 or go for 25 and hit like 5-6 threes. I don't think they have that. I think the Jaylen Brown and Tatum comparison is spot on with that duo, but I don't think they have like the core four yet. Like I like the Bree Jones, Al Horford comparison. I like where you went with the BG thing, not exactly Porzingis, but we know she can shoot the ball. She's more of an inside player, but it's gonna be interesting because I think they're gonna keep trying to tool that roster basically in that kind of mold. But I think that's one of the key skill sets that I think they're missing is a Derek White type, a taller, which is kind of like another Rhyne Howard, almost like just another tall, long, can shoot it, can defend, two-way player. Like if they had another one of those, that's what would take them over the top. But man, I'll tell you, I think I'm glad you brought up the clip of Rhyne Howard, because to me, that's a big story within this, is that because even when you talk about Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, everyone else was talking about them. Can they play together? Who's better? Who's the A? Who's the B? Who's the 1A? Whatever. They did not let that, to our knowledge at least. I mean, maybe they had to work things out amongst each other, but from afar, they worked through it. They didn't let that affect their relationship and dynamic on the court. They just kept working together and making it work. And last year, it culminated into a championship. So I think the conversation now, again, should objectively be, and it doesn't have to become this whole debate. It's just that Allisha Gray is looking like she's the better player than Rhyne Howard. And there were times, there've been times over the last couple of years where people said they felt like Jaylen Brown might be better than Jayson Tatum. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that they are committed to supporting each other. So while Allisha seems to be taking that next step offensively and looking like their best guard offensively, as you said, well, Rhyne Howard seems to be willing and committed to being like, hey, I'll show you guys I can play really good defense. I may not be the top scorer on this team. I may not be the one we're going through. Allisha may be playing better than me offensively. And just like with Tatum and Brown, Rhyne Howard is going to have her moments offensively. You can't just discount her. It's not like she's just giving up her offensive abilities. They're still there. She's still going to, you mentioned she had a 30-point game recently. So the fact that they have two guards, two wing players that can be prolific and explosive offensively, and they're both committed to the defensive end, that really is what makes that comparison check out. And that's what's giving them such a really unique, interesting look right now. But I think Rhyne Howard deserves a lot of credit for showing and communicating hey, I'm gonna show you guys that I can do this defense thing. I'm not just the player who broke the record for fastest one to make 100 threes in the WNBA before Caitlin got here. I'm not just the 3-on-3 FIBA, all-star. I do many things to impact winning. And I think she's showing that she can do that this season. And that makes me just as impressed with Rhyne Howard as I would be if she was out here looking like a top 5 player in the WNBA.
And last thing I'll say on Rhyne Howard is, you look at the numbers, her efficiency isn't where it's at. She's shooting below 30% right now, and she's shooting below 35% from the field. If we look at just the numbers, she's averaging 5 assists right now this season through 5 games or 7 games, which is a career high for her. She's on pace to average a career high in points per game as well. And she's on pace to average somewhere around 2 steals per game, which is a career high as well. So even though she's not out here dropping 20 and 25 point games left and right, she's still doing all the little things. Yeah. And like you said, there are going to be moments when they need Rhyne Howard to have a big game. And we know that Rhyne Howard is capable of having those big games, which is why I think, again, Jordan Canada being reintroduced to this lineup when she's back and healthy, I think is what could be the thing they need to really start to hit their stride even more, because it's going to be another one of those 3-guard lineups that it's going to be really dynamic, with Allisha Gray's scoring ability and her defensive ability, with Rhyne Howard's scoring ability and her defensive ability, with Jordan Canada's scoring ability and her playmaking ability and the defense that she brings as well. That's going to be a nice 5-person lineup. I know that I don't know if we talked about it on the show, But I know that we talked about a couple weeks ago how the Seattle Storm might have one of the more efficient and one of the best five-person lineups in the league right now. Jordan Canada comes back. I think that starting five of Canada, Gray, Howard, Jones, and Griner, those five are going to be, when we look back on the most efficient lineups and the best lineups with by every metric you want to look at come season's end, they're going to be towards the top of that list, because I think that's, again, with this new system that their head coach has brought in now, it's really, really working for them. I think it's only going to get better once Jordan Canada comes.
I think they're the real dark horse. I think so far early in the season, they're showing they're going to be the real dark horse. We talked about LA, Phoenix, right? Teams with potential. Seattle has you just brought them up. Like, they're starting to show like, hey, we're going to be competitive. But I think what we're seeing from Atlanta is showing like they're going to be they're going to be a dangerous out. They're the real dark horse here.
Absolutely. Before we switch gears and talk a little about the Chicago Sky, let's hit the comments real quick.
What's up, y'all? What's up?
He's telling me to go to Cali so I can learn some legit. I'd love to go to California, not for the next.
Is that where Ghost is? Is that where you tune in from, bro? Are you in California?
That's a good question. Are you from California, bro?
We never knew that.
Political Low said that's not a bad analogy. Allisha Gray is one of the best cards out there. Absolutely.
It's a fact.
Chicago,
I want to say something about that quickly too before we transition.
Chicago Cheetah said, I think the Atlanta Dream is actually a contender. Listen,
I'm not putting it past them.
Absolutely not. I think when we look at All-Star break and we take a look at the teams that are going to contend, obviously New York and Minnesota is going to be in that conversation. With the way that you mentioned it, LA not starting this season at all how we thought they would.
Yeah.
The Storm started off great. They've dropped a couple the last bit, but I think Atlanta will definitely be in the thick of it for sure. Hit the like since you all ears. Please, if you are enjoying the conversation, hit the likes. Great conversation, thought-provoking. I think they can make a nice playoff run this year. Look, I definitely think they can make it out of the first round this year. As long as they don't match up with like the Liberty or the Lynx, I think they make it out of the first round. And I think at that point, the world is their oyster. With their talent and experience, I agree. They can make contending noise. You were going to say something about Allisha Gray before we switch over to Chicago?
Yeah, I just think if you watch Allisha Gray play, what you see is, I mean, man, she does so much well offensively. Like, she's hitting, like, she's a catch and she's a great 3-point shooter. Again, I can't help but go back to, she won the 3-point competition. When you win the 3-point competition at All-Star Weekend, it doesn't automatically make you the best shooter in the league, NBA or WNBA, but it makes a statement that you're one of the best shooters in the league, whether people knew it or not. When you watch Allisha Gray play in these games, bro, she's not just a spot up catch and shoot 3-point shooter. She's hitting contested threes. She's hitting shots off the dribble and then finishing at the rim. Allisha Gray has a really understated and underrated in-between game and finishing game. She is really crafty, and her ability to score beneath the free throw line is really impressive. Like, she is strong. She is crafty around the rim. Like, she finds ways to score. She's tough. She's physical. Great shooting touch. Like, it's every time I watch her, I'm just even more impressed with how many things she does well to be able to score and be effective offensively.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, just going back to the defense, if she keeps this up, I know I've already put one person on the all defensive team in Natasha Cloud. If Allisha Gray keeps this up, I think she's going to make one of the all defensive teams. I think she has
to be all league playing this way. She's going to be all league.
And she'll be all league as well.
Rhyne Howard, I think they're both committed. It's so interesting. I think you're spot on with that comparison, because with the Brown and Tatum thing, they're both high-end defenders. They're both high-level defenders. I just think Rhyne, I feel like Allisha is taking on more of the offensive role, and it could switch up. And that's the beauty of having a duo like this. It could switch up. But man, Rhyne might be vying for all defense team with her commitment, and with Allisha kind of carrying the load a little bit more on the offensive end, with she's just in a better rhythm offensively right now, I think.